Today we are going to start laying down on our backs. If you have a strap or towel or shirt handy, you can go ahead and grab that, have it in reaching distance. So we're going to start out on our backs. You can close your eyes, relax the feet, let them fall outwards. Your hands can go wherever you would like. I'm putting them on my stomach today. And then just breathe nice and deep. We're going to be getting into the hips and doing a couple longer holds and adding some activation into those holds. So with your next exhale, bend your right knee into your chest. You can grab the shin, just hug this leg in for a breath. And then grabbing your strap, wrapping it around the foot. On your inhale, you can lift this foot up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, you're going to drop it to the right side. And try to keep your left hip rolling towards the floor. So what you don't want to happen is to get that right foot farther to the floor, you're rolling onto the right hip and the left side comes up off of the floor. You want to rotate that back down, even if that means that foot doesn't go as close to the floor. Inhale as you bring the foot back up to center. And then with your exhale, you're just going to drop it to the left side. Right hip stays on the floor this time. So you're only going to be dropping it maybe a couple of inches, maybe a foot or so. If you've got a ton of flexibility, you might be able to drop it farther. But you're just crossing it over the body while your shoulders and your hips stay squared up to the ceiling. On your inhale, you can come back to center. Exhale, bend the knee, unwrap the strap from that foot, stretch your left leg out, or your right leg out. And then with the following exhale, you can bring your left knee into your chest. Again, grab the shin, just hug this leg in here for a breath. And then using your strap, wrapping it around that foot. On your inhale, you'll lift this foot up towards the ceiling. Exhale, keeping the right side of the body pressing towards the floor. You're going to drop this foot over to the left side. Inhaling as you bring this foot back up to center. Exhale, crossing it over to the right side. Left side of the body stays on the floor. Again, this foot is only going to cross over somewhere from a couple of inches to about a foot. Unless you, again, are very flexible, then you might get a little bit more movement. Your next inhale, bring this foot back to center. Exhale, bend the knee. You can set the strap off to the side. And then bend both knees into your chest. So you're going to rock your way up to sitting. So what I do is I just grab a hold of the shins and then I use my feet to kind of sweep myself up. Working my way all the way to sitting. And then we're going to roll over to hands and knees. Once you get here, roll through a few cats and cows. Inhale as you lift the chest, chin, and tailbone. Exhaling as you round out the spine. Moving back and forth through your own breath. So this can be as fast or slow as you would like. If you would like to hold one of these for a breath or two, you are welcome to stay here. And then with your next exhale, you're going to curl the toes under and press back to your downward facing dog. Inhale as you lift your right foot towards the ceiling, and then exhale, bend the knee. You're going to step this right foot to the outside of the right hands. So it doesn't have to be pretty. You can just swing that foot all the way up, kind of coming towards the end of the mat, outside of shoulder width distance. If you would like to drop your left knee to the floor, you can, but if you would like to try to get a little bit more activation here, try to keep that foot or that knee lifted off of the floor. Keep your gaze about a foot out in front of the hands. You don't want to be having the gaze right between the hands. It's going to cause your upper back to round a little bit. So by looking out a little bit farther forward, it's going to lift the chest just a bit. Taking nice deep breaths. If you have the knee lifted, this can become quite an intense posture. And then with your next exhale, if you don't already have this left knee dropped to the floor, you can drop that knee down, heel toe your right foot between the hands, and then bring your hands up onto the thigh. If you need to adjust where your left knee is, you can do that now. And then just gently allowing the body to kind of lean forward just a little bit. Pull that right hip back, left hip comes forward, so you're kind of scissoring the legs and really squaring off the hips to the front of the room. And then with your next exhale, bring your hands down to either side of the foot. If you want to heel toe this foot back out to the edge of the mat, we're going to work back to a downward facing dog. Again, it does not have to be pretty. You're going to lift your left knee off the floor. If you need to kind of get some momentum and swing this knee out to the side to step your right foot back, or if you're able to just pick up the foot and step that right foot back to meet the left in your downward facing dog, you can do that as well. Taking a moment here, taking your gaze back to the knees. Try to press your chest back towards the shins. If you need to bend the knees just a tiny bit here, you can. And then with your next inhale, lifting your left foot towards the ceiling. Exhale, bend this knee and step this foot to the outside of the left hand. Again, if you would like to drop your right knee down, you can. Otherwise, leave this knee lifted. Gonna hang out here for about a minute. Again, take your gaze about a foot out in front of your hands. So I'm looking actually just past the top of my mat. Roll those elbows in. Try not to collapse too much into the heel of the hands. Try to keep your fingertips gripping the floor. Taking nice deep breaths. Try to slow them down. And as always, if you need to drop your right knee down, you can. Taking one more inhale, and then exhaling, dropping that right knee to the floor. If you haven't already, heel toe this foot in, and then bring the hands up onto the thigh. Allow your weight to shift slightly forward, but keep that right hip pulling forward, left hip pulls back. Taking one more nice deep inhale. And with your exhale, you can bring your hands back to the floor. If you would like to heel toe this left foot out to the edge of the mat, you can. Or lifting your right knee, you can lift your left foot off the mat and step back to your downward facing dog. Again, taking a moment to gaze back to the knees, chest presses back towards the shins. Don't shorten your stance here in the downward facing dog. On your next inhale, you can lift your right foot again towards the ceiling. Exhale, bend the knee, open up the hips to the side of the room, so your right foot's going to drop as far behind you as you can get it while staying in this downward facing dog shape. Your right knee can reach up towards the ceiling. And then with the next exhale, you're going to bring your right knee to the right wrist. We're dropping down to a pigeon pose. So your right foot is going to be anywhere from underneath your pelvis all the way out to the left wrist. The farther your hand is towards the wrist, the more difficult this pose gets. So just finding a natural placement for you to just kind of fall. You can untuck your left toes. If you want to stay upright here, you can. If you would like to drop down onto forearms or even drop the forehead towards the floor. We're going to be staying here, about another minute. So if you find that you have difficulty here in this pose, if you have a block or a pillow, you can stick it right underneath the right leg and just kind of help prop up that leg a little bit, gives you a little bit of support. Again, you can pull that foot a little bit more underneath you if that feels good to you. This is kind of one of those poses that people just don't seem to find comfort in. If you are someone who finds comfort here, good for you. If you are not, know that you are not alone. And know that this is a really, really good pose to help relax the hips, which is one of the main places that we carry stress and tension. And staying here can help to release that tension. With your next inhale, if you have the forehead down or the forearms down, you can lift them and walk the hands back, planting them down on your mat. We're going to work right back to a downward facing dog. So curling your left toes under, the left knee presses off the floor, and then finding your way back to a downward facing dog. Taking a moment here. And then inhale, lifting your left foot towards the ceiling. Exhaling as you bend the knee, drop the foot behind you. Left knee reaches up towards the ceiling. And with your next exhale, you can bring your left knee towards the right wrist. The foot drops wherever is comfortable for you. And again, untuck your right toes, dropping down to the forearms or to the forehead if that's comfortable for you. Attention to your jaw here and your shoulders. Sometimes when you're working through the tension that's in a tight area of the body, it it shifts somewhere else. The jaw and the shoulders are two of the other more popular areas that we hold on to tension. And so just leaving the shoulders relaxed, leaving the jaw relaxed, relaxing the eyes. Making any little adjustments here if you need them to find a little bit of comfort. Staying here for just a little bit longer. And if you're down on your forearms or have the forehead drop towards the floor, you can bring the hands back underneath your shoulders, curling your right toes under, right knee comes off the floor, and stepping your left foot back to a downward facing dog. Taking a nice deep inhale here, looking back to the knees, and then exhaling, you're gonna drop the knees to the floor, untuck the toes, bring the toes together, and then bring the knees about as wide as your mat. You're gonna sit back on the heels, drop the forehead towards the floor, coming down to a child's pose. If you would also like to bring the pinky edge of the hands to the floor, you can. If you had the pinky edge of your hands to the floor, you can bring them back, palm down, walk the hands back towards the body, bring the knees back together, sitting back on the heels, rest the hands in your lap, closing the eyes, taking a few nice deep breaths. Staying here as long